Are you an artist who isn't actually creating anything? Do you make the excuse that you just don't have the time? But deep down, all you really want is to be working on your art? If so, I'm sure you feel miserable about it because for us artists, creating is what makes us who we are. It's what we're meant to do. So if we're not doing it, something just feels missing. That was me. I didn't create a single thing for 9 months before I was finally able to do something about it. In this video, I'm going to tell you the 3 things that got me back on track with my art, and the one thing that has kept me creating consistently ever since. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a multimedia artist from Michigan. I'm most known for my work with recycled paper. I've been using it in my work for over 20 years. But I love exploring all forms of art. And I'm excited to share all the things I do with you. But I'm beginning with my most recent because this is the idea that got me out of a major artistic dry spell. I call it the Mandala Project. And as you'll find out, these mandalas are more than just a piece of art. Okay, so if you are stuck like I was, the number one thing I want you to do is make it easy for yourself. Start small. It was overwhelming for me to think about making a painting in my normal style because although I love doing it, it's a bit of a process to get started. Before I even begin a piece, I have to make a huge batch of pulp, which includes many blenderfuls of water and paper shreds. And I usually work on huge canvases, so it takes many hours to complete just one piece. And although the feeling of the final piece is magnificent, I just never felt up to getting started. And that feeling lasted way too long. I needed it to be easy. I needed to create without thinking. I needed to create for peace. I needed to be able to pick it up and put it down at a moment's notice. I needed to make art for therapy. And my usual way of creating had me paralyzed. So I needed to find something small, easy, and fulfilling to get me in my groove again. My inspiration came one day while I was sitting on the beach watching my son play. I started making these designs in the sand with my finger. I began with a circle and started making petal shapes around it in a pattern, like a flower. The act was satisfying and meditative. And I remember thinking to myself, I think there's a name for these designs. And I looked it up later and I was like, oh yeah, they're called mandalas. And of course they're satisfying and meditative. They're meant to be. It's like drawing in a Zen garden. And because these were so soothing to draw in the sand, which is something I desperately needed at the time, I decided to paint one on a small canvas. So what I'm saying is, make it easy for yourself. I started using acrylic paint and markers because it's way easier than paper pulp. And I create them in stages because I don't have a lot of big blocks of time to work. And I'm using 8x8 canvases instead of massive ones. Try to think of one small practice you can begin easily, even if it's just drawing in a sketchbook. Okay, the second thing I want you to remember is that it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. It just has to be enjoyable. These small pieces are not going to be sold for a fortune. And that's okay because that's not what they're for. For me, the act of creating the art is just as important as the outcome. And I focus on that. I didn't start creating these to sell. I simply wanted to lay down color and let go of my mind. And the result was this beautiful little piece that just made me happy and a little more hungrier to create. In fact, when I was creating the very first one, and I was finally back in my euphoric flow state, I got this beautiful idea for a bigger purpose for these paintings. An idea about sharing the message that each one embodies. Like in my last video, I talked about the piece called Becoming. It's about taking the steps needed to become the version of yourself that you want to be. The painting serves as a reminder that change happens gradually through small steps over time. I needed this reminder, so I thought others would too. That's why in that video, I shared a free digital download of that painting so it could be accessible to anyone. I know that everything is energy, and I believe that if I keep making these paintings and putting them out into the world and sharing their messages, that the people that they were meant for will find them. Getting that idea while painting brings me to the third thing that I want you to know. It's that one thing leads to another. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just try something, anything, and see how you feel. If you like it, keep going. And if you don't, try something new. Everything that unfolded since making that first mandala led me right here, creating art consistently and starting this channel finally. The first thing I tried on a small canvas before my mandala inspiration came was a copy of another artist's work that I admire. And though the creative process was enjoyable, it didn't make me want to create another one. And if I'm being honest, even finish the first one, it's still sitting in my closet half complete. So that told me to keep searching. Do you know who this is inspired by? I'd love to know in the comments if anyone else is also a fan of her work. The thing that's most enjoyable about creating these designs is that my brain is mostly shut down. There isn't a lot of decision making, just doing. And that's what I need. A realization that I had years ago while making one of my paper pulp relief sculptures was that when my hands are busy, my mind is at peace. And for someone who experiences anxiety, having peace is huge. That's why sometimes copying another artist's work is helpful. When you copy versus making something up entirely on your own, there's a lot less decision making. You can just enjoy the process. And I say it's great practice as an artist to find another artist's work that you admire and create something inspired by it. You'll not only be practicing your skills, but you'll be learning about yourself in the process. You'll be finding out the types of things you like doing and dislike doing, and with each piece, you'll be inserting more of yourself. And pretty soon, you're no longer copying. Everything is coming right out of you. So, those are the three things that really helped me. Number one, make it easy for yourself. Start small. Number two, remember, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. It just has to be enjoyable. And number three, one thing leads to another, but you have to get started to find out where it will lead. Okay, I have one more bonus tip for you. And this may be the most important because you can't do all these things unless you have the time to do it. So my bonus tip is schedule in your creative time. Just like exercising or any other task you don't want to do, it's so easy to say, I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow comes and I'll do it tomorrow. And pretty soon it never happens. That's why you have to make it happen. You have to make it a priority and you have to make the commitment. I promise you, you commit to that first day, and just like exercise, it'll make you feel so good, you'll want to continue. So, where can you find the time on a daily or even weekly basis to schedule in creative time? This was tough for me because at this stage in my life, I'm a homeschooling mom and I work part-time in the evenings, 4 days a week. For my creative schedule, I decided my husband would take care of dinner on Thursdays so I could paint. Shout out to my husband for being awesome. And also on Saturdays, depending on what's going on, I can get a couple hours, and the same on Sunday. And just knowing I have that time every week set aside to create makes a world of difference. So yeah, I know it's difficult. We all have our daily lives to manage, but we can find time for things that are important. And for artists like us, creating is very important. I always said I didn't have the time, but once I got serious, I found the time. And it was the best thing I did. Creating is so essential to our mental health. Even those who don't consider themselves artists can benefit from being creative. So please find some time, schedule it in, and you'll have that time to look forward to. If you are a non-working artist like I was, I really hope this will spark something in you to get you going again. Because I truly know how awful it feels to not be creating. And I also know that when you're actively doing the thing that you love, the thing that lights you up, the thing that makes you you, you're just going to feel good. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for being here. I'll see you soon.